How's everybody today? You know, I'm Bernhard Seifert, and we always talk about different subjects of psychology. And I got to know these amazing people. I don't know what's the energy or the vibe that Tulum has, that in a couple of days I've gotten to know amazing people who is in spirituality, and besides that they have a different perspective of life, which I'm amazed. You know, I'm always learning. I'm always finding the answer about the human being. It's very, very important how we approach to the world and other human beings. So I'm very happy to introduce right here Kyra Maestra. Let's give her a hand of applause, please. Come on, over there, my friend. You got it. I need energy. That's what I want. That's good. So she is a somatic experiencing practitioner. You tell us about yourself. It's better.
So I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner and a psychedelic facilitator.
Oh, I love that. What's your name, my friend?
My name is Velmer.
Velmer. He was correcting me. That's why I let him talk, you know? So Velmer and Kyra, I'm very happy that you're here. What is exactly the way you see spirituality, and how do you apply into your life, and how do you get other people contagious about spirituality?
So can I take over?
Yes.
So psychedelics were a huge part in my own spiritual growth. I grew up very, very strictly Christian in a pretty rigid kind of environment, and went through a pretty rough experience, you know, throughout my teens and early 20s. And when I started to use psychedelics, I was using them like people usually get into psychedelics. I was using them to party and kind of exploring them in that way, and then stumbled across deep, deep healing. And so in my late 20s, I was healing from a pretty traumatic experience and was kind of on the upswing of a lot of PTSD trauma symptoms, and came across DMT. And that really opened up my eyes to the potential that plant medicines have to really, truly heal.
And what is the experience, if you don't want to say, that's okay, but what is the specific experience you had so made you focus specifically on that? So
I think a lot of people are lucky enough to go through a deep crisis in their lives. And mine was just a breakup. It was just, I was fully in love with a man who we were planning our pagan engagement ceremony. He knows all about this.
Right.
But the thing is, the type of abandonment that I received, it mirrored what I would later discover on a psychedelic experience. I recovered a memory from when I was 18 months old and had a huge experience with abandonment. And it was the right alchemy of a situation to fully break my psyche. I had a friend who was a death doula at the time that told me she had never seen somebody suffer like I suffered in those 2 years as I was trying to heal from what happened.
So did you find help, or how did you go through all this situation?
You know, living in America, the healthcare system didn't really have my back. And I looked for help in the places that I could find it, but without a lot of financial support for myself. And I was in such a state where I really couldn't work. A lot of my healing came from travel. I moved into a van that I built out by myself and ended up on a farm trimming marijuana on the west coast of America, and ended up just lucky enough to find myself in a place where I discovered really what safety was. And I discovered really who I was. Within the blossoming from this place of complete ego death, because I went through a total psychological break, and so I was able to build from the ground up who I really wanted to become. And what happened was, when I finally started working with the DMT, I ended up being asked to facilitate with it, which was a whole story. I never thought I would work with a DMT medicine. And I wasn't really facilitating with psychedelics at that point, but I went through a 2-year training, and what I discovered was that this medicine was not only very conscious, and that there was a spiritual realm beyond what we can see, but that it has a language that it literally speaks to us.
So something farther than your thoughts, that moves your soul, your body, something like that?
Yeah, you can imagine it like the spirit of music or the muse. A lot of people say when they make art, it kind of comes from a place outside of themselves and it kind of comes through their body.
Yeah, of course.
There's energetics that come through our body. I learned that when I was a massage therapist. When I was training to be a massage therapist, I would work on somebody with a knee issue, and then later my knee would hurt, and I'd be like, why? And it's because there's energy that moves between people. There's energy that moves between the ether. And this language that I'm talking about, that DMT speaks, is the same language that music speaks. It's the same language of spiritual experiences. When people say they hear God speaking or they felt the Holy Spirit move through them, it's the same thing. It's the universe talking to us.
Yeah, you're talking about the energy, and I always say that if there's no energy, there is no life. So you gotta have energy in your body, your soul, in your thoughts. You always gotta keep producing, inside of yourself that type of energy, so you can be creative, have a life and everything. So it's like when you don't sleep, sometimes next morning you're just like hungover, or wow, oh my gosh, I can't do anything. So we need energy, and we need to understand how we can translate that energy to our lives, and to become successful in our lives, to find the partner of our lives, or to keep the job that we're dreaming of. And I think that energy is the one that takes you to get to know not just amazing people. I hear in Tulum only for 2 days, and I met you, which is like amazing to hear that everything that you're doing, you're teaching, you're coaching. So you coach a lot of people?
I do coach a lot of people, and one of the things that I wanted to say was that Velmer's superpower is running an energy of grounded safety.
Yeah, what I do is, I'm really an alchemist, a sensory alchemist. It comes very naturally to me to absorb energy or to run an energetic through my body for it to become a sensory experience, and then share that with others. It comes from the heart. It comes from the soul. In fact, sometimes I'll travel in between the stars, if you will, to a space that I call this God space, where we as individuals can interact from our God essence, or really our center, our solid center. And I use that energy, transform it into movement, transform it into a sensory experience, even a sensual experience between people.
Right.
And there's a lot of healing in that. Not only healing, but there's a lot of abundance in that.
Let me ask you, how did you become interested in finding out yourself and applying this into yourself and the world, Yeah.
Oh, yes. That started very early on. I was
like
raised...
the breakthrough,
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the moment, something happened, something changed my life. When there's a crisis, it demands a change.
Yeah.
So that's why we do changes in our life.
I'd say there have been multiple changes throughout my life that have been an accelerator for me, that have been a moment, an aha moment, where I realized, now I can feel into the path that I want to be on.
Right.
Now I know the man I want to be. And there have been several moments like that, in particular one 3 years ago where my entire life changed.
I was like, that's the moment.
My work, my business, my partnership at the time, my living situation, everything changed.
What were you doing before this? What type of life you had before?
Actually, very interesting. Yeah, it started out pretty normal. Like I worked for very large tech companies that everybody knows, and I was doing corporate work. And then from that, I went into real estate investments and became a developer. So pretty straightforward. And I realized that I wanted something that was coming more from the soul. And I probably didn't have enough courage to step into that role. So life decided for me.
Knock all that down.
Knocked all that down. Everything changed, and from there on, I did have the courage to step into this role of men's work, of really listening to myself, including the feminine within myself as well as the masculine, the solid
Yeah, we
masculine.
all have feminine and masculine.
Drive.
Yeah.
Exactly, we all have it. We all have masculine and feminine within us. And when we can use this in such a way that we can use the masculine drive to create, we can use the feminine to feel into what we want to create, and we can have it come from a heart space,
Right.
then this magic happens within us, and we operate from our heart with others. Now business becomes abundance. Connection with others becomes abundance.
Connection with others becomes abundance.
One of the ways that Velmer and I both mirror each other's journey a lot is that our process to awakening to getting to know ourselves and getting into interpersonal work was both really about the body. You know, he's a very sensory person and I'm a very movement-oriented person. Somatic experiencing is a therapy that works with the subconscious mind and it works through the body. Using the same language, turns out, as DMT, as psychedelics.
Yeah.
And we both have really come back to the body over and over again to lead us into...
Yeah, that's exactly how I met them. They were on a pool, they were doing certain type of dancing exercises. I don't know how to translate that. She almost fell into the pool, but you know what? Everything is about trusting. So I felt, because that's what I teach actors for so many years, you know, the corporal expression, the visual effects and everything, so you gotta trust to the other person. And that took my attention, that, you know, you trusted him and her 100%, you know, and she did the same, he did the same on the other side. So you went almost into, you almost touched the water too, and you were like, oh my gosh, they're gonna fall, and they never fall, you know, and they were like, you know, like it was very, like their body expression, very musical, you know, like it's music, you know, you feel the body, the senses. So that's impressive. That's exactly how I met these guys.
That was actually probably the essence of how we communicate and how we bring out the passion and the energetic within the body. Because not only are we dancing and it's joyful and beautiful, we are talking to each other through this movement. We're communicating as a couple, we're communicating this out to the world. Others, that same night, others came up to us and asked us to teach them this expression because
it's powerful.
It's powerful.
Right.
So you use this alchemy in your coaching program for acting. And one of the things that we were talking about that night was like, if you can connect to where this comes from, you can create an emotion of sadness out of this physical location. And so a lot of what we're doing is the same thing, especially when we do these dances or these conversations with our body together, is I'll be like, oh, I'm feeling this energy and it's not moving, maybe we're in conflict, and there's something.
That's right. You gotta work it out.
Holding, and so we'll start posturing at each other.
Yep.
And I'll posture how I'm feeling, and then he'll posture in response, and then I'll posture again, and he'll posture again. And by moving the body in conversation, it moves the energy a lot more efficiently.
Yeah, I think it's about the different languages that the body, not just the body, how we think, how we act, and probably a physical movement, not probably, that happens, but you need to know how to use it on your favor. That's exactly what we were talking about. The physical movement of your diaphragm takes you to an emotional part of, you know, a feeling, and then it creates something in your mind that it creates a feeling because you're moving the body. And you need to understand how the connection goes from the body to the mind and to the emotion, because at the end of the day we create our own emotions. So it's very interesting. And how do you apply it to your people? What advice can you tell people so they can feel they have so much inside that they can share? And some people, they don't even realize they have a beautiful soul and they are afraid. They have fear to show it. You see a lot of people all around, you know, that is afraid about showing their own emotions, feelings, because you know, they're afraid about being hurt or something. So what is the advice you give people they can start getting into their own soul?
So I think maybe we can both answer this individually, but my answer to that question is somatic experiencing has a lot of different steps and like a lot of different things that you're tracking: visualization, natural body movements, emotional flows. But one of the best things that I can say to actually start tuning into your own self and
How do you do that?
the allowance
How do you tune yourself?
Yeah. Try to start noticing the inner body sensations that are happening all the time. So maybe you have resistance to feeling fear or to feeling awkward. You're in a conversation with some people and you start to feel awkward. Where is the awkwardness? And that's the only question. Where am I feeling this? I'm noticing I'm feeling kind of anxious right now. Where am I feeling anxious? And if you can tune into where in the body that feeling is, oftentimes maybe chest or stomach, and sometimes it's in the hands or even in the hair,
Right.
which is weird. But if you can tune into where it is and just try to allow that sensation, then alchemy starts happening, magic
Right.
starts happening.
Yes.
Because energetically you're not resisting.
Momentum starts happening.
Momentum starts happening, yeah. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's, do I feel a little bit queasy in my stomach? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it tingly? Does it expand? Does it contract? And to follow that feeling in the body is the start of connecting with the self. And from there we can follow the feeling. Maybe in the beginning it's sitting still, and once we're noticing maybe it moving, we can follow it. Does it go into the legs?
Right.
Does it go out through the arms, into the hands? And then we can feel that actual feeling, the contraction of feeling awkward in a conversation.
Right, yes.
And once we move that, we start to notice that it actually creates space within ourselves.
Right,
It actually moves away from this area that feels contracted. And now we can call in that abundance, we can call in joy, we can call in something that we desire. And fill that space with something that we want. And that's going to feel different. It's going to feel maybe warm and expansive and soft.
Right, right. Well, that's very, very interesting.
The thoughts change, because we can say like, I don't want to have this fear in my life. I don't want to be acting this way or have this thing. But if we're resisting the sensation, then it's going to stay. What we resist persists. And so if we can open to the feeling and allow it to be there and just be with it with our awareness, it ends up moving, and then the thoughts change.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening with a lot of people. They're not willing to open, and they have a feeling, and besides that, a change, because people is afraid of changing sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of times.
and that's why you take wrong decisions, because you don't want to change and you rather stay in the same place. I always say that if you're in a comfortable situation, you gotta put a red light. Why? Because I always try to feel uncomfortable so I can keep, moving, growing, or because when I'm like there, I don't grow. I just stay like that. You know what I'm talking about? Even though spiritually as well. So I think it's important to understand and feel and be open to willing, just will to make a change in your life, and by consequence you're gonna create change in other people's life, and that's how I am all the time. I'm open to get to know different type of people, different cultures, different thoughts, and that's what makes you bigger, because you constantly are absorbing everything on people like you. You're experts in certain areas, or certain experiences that you lived and you want to share it. So that's basically how I act in my life.
A lot of my expertise is in coaching people through trauma is one of my main things, but what I really love to do is use somatic experiencing to take entrepreneurs into the next step of following their dreams. So what are the subconscious things that are keeping you from actually rising into the life that you're meant to be living? Into the things that are actually calling your soul? How are you holding yourself back, and how can we address that from a subconscious level to help you rise? Because honestly, the more people that are out there following their dreams, the better of a place the world is going to be. And the more that you follow your dreams, the more that you are going to help the people around you rise as well.
I'm enjoying this conversation because you're providing a lot to your soul, to your friends, to your family, to the people that is around you.
Yeah, it's so great to be here. just I feel it in my soul. I feel the tingling in my body, the goosebumps that are, we're trying to share with others as well. And we really live what we preach. So that's the
I think that's important what you're saying. We gotta live what we preach. It gives me goosebumps. You know why? Because you gotta feel it to transmit. We are emotional transmitters. And thank you over there in your house, in your car, in your phone, wherever you are. We always giving lessons of life. This is your friend Bernhard Seifert, and I see you the next one.